From John Wayne, who buried 26 bodies in a crawl space, to Harold Shipman, who stashed up a large chunk of morphine and diamorphine in a plastic bag, these discoveries reveal the twisted minds and shadowy lives of these serial killers, painting a terrifying picture of their evil deeds. Let's begin with Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer, one of the most infamous serial killers in American history, shocked the world not only with his heinous crimes, but also with the gruesome discoveries made in his apartment at the time of his arrest in 1991. When Milwaukee police entered Dahmer's apartment, they were unprepared for the nightmarish scene that awaited them. The first indication of the horrors within Dahmer's apartment came when police noticed a foul odor emanating from the unit. Upon entering, they discovered a refrigerator containing human remains, including severed heads and other body parts. In addition to the human remains, investigators found photographs documenting Dahmer's grisly acts. These images showed victims in various stages of dismemberment, providing a horrifying visual record of his crimes. Perhaps the most shocking discovery was the large blue barrel found in Dahmer's bedroom. The barrel contained the decomposing remains of 3 victims who had been dismembered and dissolved in acid. Further investigation revealed Dahmer's attempts to create a zombie of sorts, a living person who would be under his complete control. He admitted to drilling holes into the skulls of some of his victims and injecting acid or boiling water into their brains in a futile effort to achieve this twisted fantasy. The total remains of 17 different victims were found in Dahmer's apartment, each discovery more gruesome than the last. What the police found in the home of the next man on the list would leave you shocked. John Wayne Gacy. In December 1967, Gacy pleaded guilty to oral sodomy. His wife divorced him, and he was sentenced to prison. After serving less than 2 years, Gacy was released and sought to rebuild his life. He married his second wife and moved into a new home at 8213 West Summerdale Avenue in Norwood Park, Chicago. Between 1972 and 1976, Gacy lured at least 33 young men and boys to his home under the guise of offering them part-time work. Once inside, he subjected them to unimaginable torture and ultimately murder. In December 1978, the police investigation into John Wayne Gacy took a decisive turn. Several teenage boys had come forward, accusing Gacy of sexual assault. These reports prompted the authorities to obtain a search warrant for his home at 8213 West Summerdale Avenue. What the police found inside was beyond anyone's worst nightmares. As they began to search the property, they discovered a crawl space beneath the house. The air was thick with a foul odor, and it wasn't long before they uncovered the first of many bodies. In total, 26 bodies were found buried in the crawl space. 3 more were discovered on the adjoining property, and a handful of others were found in the nearby Des Plaines River, where Gacy had disposed of them. The sheer number of victims shocked the nation and left the community in a state of disbelief and horror. John Wayne Gacy was arrested and quickly confessed to the murders. He claimed to have killed 33 young men and boys between 1972 and 1976. Despite his attempts to plead insanity, Gacy was found guilty of all charges and sentenced to death in 1980. Unlike Gacy, who confessed to his crime, the investigation for the next lady on the list remains inconclusive till this date. Belle Gunness. Belle Gunness, a seemingly innocent widow in LaPorte, Indiana, hid a horrifying secret. In May 1908, a fire at her farm revealed a gruesome truth. She was one of America's most notorious serial killers. The discovery of buried bodies and a headless corpse shocked the nation. Belle's hired hand, Ray Lamphere, was infatuated with her and helped dispose of bodies. When Ray became a threat due to his obsession, Belle framed him for her crimes. Days before the fire, Belle made a will, expressing fear for her life. After the blaze, authorities found a headless body they believed was Belle's, though her true fate remains uncertain. A later investigation revealed the remains of numerous victims on her property. In 2008, an attempt to use DNA to confirm Belle's identity was inconclusive, leaving the mystery of whether she died in the fire or escaped to continue her crimes unresolved. Belle committed her deadly crime on her farm, but the next on the list performed his acts in a place called the Murder Castle. H. Holmes. In the bustling city of Chicago, amidst the excitement of the 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, a seemingly ordinary building stood at the corner of 63rd and Wallace Streets. This was the Murder Castle, a 3-story structure that would become infamous for the horrors, concealed within its walls. Commissioned by H. Holmes, the building was designed to serve as a hotel for exposition visitors, but its true purpose was far more sinister. Holmes's victims, often young women lured by promises of employment or lodging, would find themselves trapped in this labyrinth labyrinth. Once inside, they were at the mercy of Holmes's diabolical ingenuity. Some rooms were equipped with gas pipes, allowing Holmes to asphyxiate his victims at will. These airtight chambers were soundproof, ensuring that no cries for help could be heard. Holmes had also installed chutes that led directly to the basement. After murdering his victims, he would dispose of their bodies by sending them down these chutes. The basement itself was a house of horrors, filled with surgical instruments, vats of acid, and quicklime pits. Holmes used these tools to dissect and destroy the remains, leaving no trace of his gruesome deeds. One of the most horrifying discoveries in the basement was a large furnace, which Holmes used to incinerate the bodies. This furnace was capable of reaching extremely high temperatures, reducing human remains to ashes. Holmes's meticulous planning ensured that his crimes would remain hidden, as the evidence was literally burned away. When authorities finally searched the murder castle after Holmes's arrest, they were shocked by what they found. The hidden rooms, the gas chambers, the chutes, and the basement filled with torture devices painted a gruesome picture of Holmes's activities. It was clear that this building had been designed with one purpose in mind: to facilitate murder on an industrial scale. The police report detailed the horrifying discoveries, noting the presence of human remains and the various methods Holmes had used to kill and dispose of his victims. This next serial killer was probably obsessed with his mother, and all of his crimes were related to creating an image of a person who looked like his late mother. Ed Gain. Ed Gain, an unassuming man from Plainfield, Wisconsin, concealed a macabre reality beneath his quiet exterior. When authorities entered his home in 1957 and found human organs preserved in jars and masks fashioned from human skin, the investigation into Ed Gain's horrific crimes began on November 16, 1957, when Bernice Warden, the owner of a local hardware store in Plainfield, Wisconsin, went missing. Her son, Frank Warden, a deputy sheriff, was immediately alarmed when he found the store in disarray. The cash register was missing, and a trail of blood led out the back door. Frank's suspicions quickly turned to Ed Gain, a reclusive handyman known for his odd behavior. Authorities wasted no time in apprehending Ed Gain at a neighbor's house. The house was in a state of squalor, with filth and clutter everywhere. In the kitchen, they found the headless, gutted body of Bernice Warden hanging from the ceiling like a grotesque hunting trophy. Her head was discovered in a burlap sack, and her heart was hanging in a plastic bag. As investigators continued to search the house, they uncovered a macabre collection of human remains.